What's up guys, Micah here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my rooftop tent setup. So I have the Roofnest Condor. So it's the Gen 1. They recently came out with the Gen 2. I've had this tent for about 3 years now, so I've got some pretty decent use out of it. I know kind of the ins and outs, pros and cons, some things I like, some things I don't, some mods that I've made. So I'll get into an overview of the outside here, and then I'll open it up and show you what's going on the inside, and basically just all of the functionality behind the tent. So I wanted to mention as far as inspiration for the setup related to how the tent sets on the truck. So I have a Diamondback bed cover with a Frontrunner Rack system, and then obviously Roofnest Condor on top of that. So the Diamondback bed cover and the Frontrunner Rack is inspired by Last Line of Defense. So shout out to Mike from Last Line of Defense. This setup is super awesome. I remember seeing his video of his original fabricated idea, and then Frontrunner came out with this rack system that pairs with the Diamondback. So really awesome setup. All your stuff down below stays nice and dry. You're able to store stuff kind of like a table up here, then you have your tailgate, all your stuff secured below. I've seen those overland racks that come up over this, and your bed cover or your bed is exposed to the elements. I like that for ease of use of getting stuff in and out, and you have the ability to store stuff that's taller than the actual bed cover, but your stuff is exposed. So I'd rather have my stuff secured and be limited on the amount of gear I can carry, which truthfully I think the more minimal the better, but pros and cons to both. So you can kind of make up your mind on how you want to go about setting up your tent, but I just really enjoy this setup in particular. So just wanted to give a little background on the inspiration behind this setup. I also want to take a few minutes to just talk about some schools of thought when it comes to selecting a rooftop tent for your setup. So if you don't already have a rooftop tent and you're in the market for one, when I originally was looking at different tents, now, 3 years ago, there weren't that many clamshell style opening tents. So from what I remember, there was Desert Armor or something like that. Then there was the Roofnest Condor and the Condor series. Then there was the Ikamper Sky Camp series. And, they have a few different ones over there at Ikamper. They're kind of the originators behind the clamshell, hard shell type tents. So those ones are really the most quickly deployed and quickly put away style tents. And I did pretty extensive research on, which one that I wanted to go with, which brand, what would pair well with my particular truck and the system that I wanted to run. Quality, there's a lot of different factors that go into selecting a tent. So one word of advice if you're in the market is to just do your research and figure out what specific features you want, what price point you're at. So a huge barrier to entry with rooftop tents is really just the price. So when I bought this Roofnest, it was right at $3,000. So it was $2,995 or something like that, and I got it when it was on sale. I don't know what their pricing looks like now. Now that they have a second gen out, you might be able to find the Gen 1s for a discounted price or used. And as long as it's taken good care of, mine still looks pretty much brand new, and I've had it for 3 years. So if price is an issue for you and you really want one of the hard shell styles, I would look, for a used version, or see what kind of other options they have. I know that Roofnest has damage, scratch and dent tents as well. And really, if you're not super picky, I highly doubt that they're damaged beyond use. So that's one thing to think about as well. And tons of things to think about when you're trying to pick a rooftop tent. So I'm going to link. So when I was doing my original research, and I'll link it in the description, but my top choices really came down to, and it's because there was less options at the time, but my top two were the Roofnest Condor and the Ikamper Sky Camp Mini. And looking at those two side by side, it just made the most sense to pick the Roofnest to me because it was significantly cheaper and offered essentially the exact same thing. I've seen in person a couple Ikampers, and I will say, when looking at them and like the touch and feel, they do feel slightly more premium, but overall really not that big of a difference. And I don't really understand the justification for, you know, $1,000-$2,000 more expensive. So I'll go through some of the differences, and that's what I was going to say is I'm going to link in the description. I found this website that actually a gentleman put it together, where it's the Ikamper Skycamp Mini and the Roofnest Condor side by side, and it goes through like price point, material, manufacturer, weight, dimensions, like all that stuff. And I'm not going to get into the dimensions and what materials and all that stuff on this video, but I'm going to link that side-by-side comparison, and you're able to just see, like in spreadsheet format, the differences between the two, and that'll help you kind of make a decision on what tent you want to choose. And there's probably some resources like that for the numerous additional tents that they have on the market now. So yeah, enough about, you know, deciding on which tent that you want. I'll go ahead and take the camera off the tripod, do a little walk around, and then I'll get into the internals and just a review of the tent. So let's get to it. So I'll start off here by just kind of giving you a tour around my truck. I have a 2016 Toyota Tacoma TRD off-road. So I've got a few mods that I've done. I upgraded to the Pro Grill. I'm not going to go over everything that I've done here on the truck, but got on a lift. It's a Bill Stein. I forget the numbers, but I got some DX4 wheels that I upgraded, and then Diamondback bed cover with the, like I said, Frontrunner rack system. I'll kind of give you a little close-up here of what this rack system looks like. So how you would order this if you're trying to, you know, set your tent up similar to this is you have to buy the, obviously, Diamondback bed cover, and then this Frontrunner system, which they actually have came up with a different mechanism for this attachment point here. It's a little, I think, more streamlined and simplistic in nature. This one's still solid, but I think they just made some upgrades. But it comes with this little rail here, which you can drop not only this part here for the Frontrunner rack, but you can do other accessories in this rail here if you'd like to. But this just drills directly into the Diamondback. So it's kind of nerve-wracking because this thing is, you know, so expensive that you're drilling into the metal. But as long as you take your time and you know, measure and make sure you're sealing it and all that stuff, it's not that big of a deal. But you can do other accessories in here. These racks can be slid, you know, left and right depending on how you want it. And then it's really easy to take the tent on and off, as far as there's some bolts on this backside that I just unscrew these bolts, and then I have a pulley system in my truck that, you know, hoists the tent off. But yeah, that's enough about the rack. But this is kind of just a tour so you can see how it looks and how it fits. And one mod that I did, so this is one thing that I didn't like, and they've changed this since their Gen 1 option, which I have, is this material. I actually did the Raptor Liner that you can buy. So I sanded the whole thing down, like, you know, did the whole prep, and I might drop a couple pictures of when I was doing it. But first thing I did when I was looking at the comparison from the Ikamper to the Roofnest was I really hated that this was gloss. Like, this was a black shiny plastic gloss, and the Ikamper came with the more ruggedized material, so like the Raptor Liner material. And so that was one huge thing as far as why I was hesitant to buy the Roofnest. But I was like, you know what, I'll just spray it myself. And it was actually really easy. I don't know if you've ever done Raptor Liner before, but it turned out freaking awesome. And like I said, the first thing I did when I bought this was that. And so it looks, you know, really great. It looks brand new. And honestly, I've seen the Ikamper in person, and I prefer the way this Raptor Liner looks. It's a little bit rougher. It feels a little more rugged, and it's like more scratch proof almost. So I did a pretty solid job as far as, you know, prep work and all that stuff, and the finish came out super awesome. But that's one significant mod that I did that really improves the look of this thing, because otherwise it looks kind of cheesy, honestly. But another mechanism here is that I think could be improved, which they did in their newest iteration, but these are Velcro straps that you open this thing up with, which other tents have like metal latching that, you know, it's more just, and I was thinking about doing a mod on this, but I don't have like a welder or anything, so, but something to think about in the future. And then it has these little ratcheting straps here that pop open, and one on each side, and that just secures the tent. And I apologize, this is all one-handed, so it's a little difficult. But yeah, so those pop open like that. And yeah, that is a view from the outside. And then I'll go ahead and pop it open so you can see how it works. All right, so I'll show you how to open this real quick. So like I showed you before, you just undo these two Velcro latches, the two ratchet straps, and then really you just give it a push and it opens up. So I usually throw that strap up there out of the way, and there is a little elastic strap that holds the tent material in, which I know some other tents have a little better mechanism for that, but it's really doesn't matter that much. Then I just hop up here, and there is a cover for the ladder. So, and I can give you kind of a close-up of this later on, but that exposes the ladder, and then you just pull the ladder out all the way, fold this down, and then you pull this up and over. And so this is that ladder cover that just covers the ladder so you don't get the tent material all dirty. And then this just rolls up out of the way. And then there's some Velcro straps here that keep this in place. So I know one challenge with a lot of people is trying to figure out how these ladders work. So the simplest way that I've figured out, and I don't know if there's like a specific instruction or whatever, how you're supposed to do this, but what I do is there's these two little tabs underneath each of these rungs here, which allow you to collapse that section. So I always extend it out all the way and then have it angled like this. And then I collapse the first one, collapse the second one, collapse the third one, or however many you need. And you can see that this is extremely vertical now. So that means I have too many collapsed. So I will uncollapse that one and then do this until the base of the tent is parallel with the ground. So that's the simplest way that I've found out how to do it. I'm sure there's, you know, other people who are like, well, you do it this way, you do it that way. That's just what makes the most sense to me, and it's super quick and easy. Now this is what it looks like once you have the tent just open from standard. That's all I've done so far, is just extend the ladder out, and the fly is, you know, down, windows are kind of closed. So as far as some things to point out here is there's these little flaps here that allow you to run, you know, electricity or power, like whatever you wanted inside of the tent. And then this flap Velcros underneath here and keeps it, you know, somewhat airtight. And that exists on both sides of the tent here. So that's what I do next, is get that secured. And then as far as from there, I put up the awnings, so, or the window awning, and then the main part of the fly. So the main part of this fly here is actually attached by these little grommets. So if you want to take that off, you just undo this and you can flip this whole fly off. You can see this orange line here. That's all the main part of the fly. So next I'll pop up the awnings, and I'll just come in here, and this is, while the tent is closed, I store all these accessories just in here like this. So this bag is for the awning poles. This bag here is, or I'll just show you once I pull it out. And then this is like a repair kit. There's like some tent material if you wanted to patch something or whatever. So I'll go ahead and set up the awning so we can take a full look inside of here. So the next modification that I've made, so first one was mentioning the Rhino liner on the outside of this. Next mod has to do with these tent poles here. So these tent poles, you'll notice there's two different sizes. So this long one, this is how it comes. And then these shorter ones are actually for the cab side window. So the tailgate side, you have no issue popping up this awning. And then obviously the front, you have no issue with that. But you do have an issue when it comes to the tailgate side window. So you'll notice here that this gap right here is pretty short. And so in order to stick those poles in the slots that are right here, there's not enough, that angle's too steep in order to connect to the awning. So I came up with a creative way to get that awning to work. And what I did was just chop these down, and you'll see when I get up there how I did that. So it worked out pretty well. And then another small little mod here, which I'll link these, is these little caps here. So Roofnest included caps on here, and I lost mine like super quick. So I don't know if anybody else has lost these, or if you have a different tent brand that those came off. So the exposed end normally looks like that. So you would have that on this end, and I found some little like vacuum seal caps, or I forget what they're called, but I'll link those as well. So those are two small little mods there that I did with these tent poles. So now I'll set up the awnings. So the easiest way to set up these front awnings is to climb the ladder and face out from the ladder. And then you grab your first pole, you stick it in the slot here, and then you want to make sure the tip of this pole where that cap is facing towards the ground. Then you pull this towards you, slip it into the grommet, and then you do the same on the other side. Super easy once you've practiced a couple times. And that's set up. Now for the other window. So I'm not the tallest guy in the world, so the easiest thing for me to do is to just hop up on the tailgate with these poles, and very similar procedure. Stick it in the slot, pull this up, slip it in the grommet. Same on this side. Slot, grommet. That simple. The easiest way to show you the last awning here, closest to the cab, is just to open this door. And what I've done is I have a Prinsu roof rack. So you'll notice here I have a little screw and washer here, and then there's another one on this side over here. So you can kind of see it's chewed up just a little bit from me doing this, which, you know, I don't really care too much. But this spot here was kind of where I was doing these poles before. And then I figured out that this angle and this spot was a little bit better. So I'll show you from the inside here. And this is what I do, or how I do it. So I climb up in here, and this is a little bit different. So you're going to actually put the tent pole into the grommet first. The other ones, you put them in the slot first. With this one, you're going to put it in the grommet first. And I'm doing this one-handed, so sorry about the camera angle, but you get it in the grommet first, and then you're going to pull the end back this way. And let's see if I can do this. And then you're going to bend it and stick it into that position. So now you can see it's right next to that screw. And really that screw just is a marcation of where I want this pole to be angled, because you could put this, the back end of this, anywhere along this rail. And so I just did this as a reminder, like, hey, this is where you want the pole. So that pops up that side, and then you'll do the same with this end. I'll stick it in here. And like I said, this is not the easiest one-handed. And then you do the same on this end and stick it in there. So that marks where that's at. And to be honest, it does, like I said, it chews it up just a little bit, but truthfully, don't really care because it just works. And then you're able to get this awning fully open. So I know it doesn't exactly, you know, keep it as taut as the other window, but I'll show you what it looks like from the outside. And it's pretty effective relative to, you know, just not having the awning open. So that's what it looks like from the side. And you can see it's a little slack, you know, in it, kind of up compared to this one. This one's a little more sloped. But I'm sure if you really played with that angle properly, you could get that to be a little more sloped down. The challenge is just the way that this pole is angled, that you can't get the amount of downward force that you would like. But yeah, it works out. And I think that's the best alternative to just not having the window open. So just a little tip there with that. So the last thing I do is set up these accessory bags. So cool thing about Roofnest is that they include these accessory bags with the tent. I know other companies typically have you purchase these separately. So this one's a shoe bag. This one is like my toiletry bag. So all you have to do is slip this into this rail. There's like a tube here that kind of guides this into this rail. And then the other side, slip it in here, and it's a little bit easier if you kind of bend this a little bit, and it allows you to slip it in there much easier, because if you have it kind of like this, it's tough to get in there. So you just slip it in like that. And then what I'll usually do is just, it has a Velcro stitched around the edge of this, so you can just peel this whole thing up, and that exposes the organizational pouches. And I'll usually just go ahead and have these rolled up at all times. I think you can have them closed if you wanted to prevent like dirt or whatever from getting in there. But you just tie these up like this. And then same with the shoe bag here. I really like this shoe bag actually, because it makes it easy to store your shoes. When you don't have this thing, it's kind of tough to not track dirt into the tent. So, so yeah, you just tie these up like this. And then these are actually kind of like elasticy, so it's easy to get your shoes in and out of this bag here. And then I know I said last thing, but actually the last thing that they provide is this mesh net that is meant for the ground of the tent. So you can set this under the ladder. And I'll be honest, I used it for a while, and it's to prevent like dirt from being tracked up and down the ladder. I don't really use it too often anymore. I think it's, you know, more kind of a gimmick or whatever. But I mean, it does work to some degree, but it's supposed to go under the ladder. And depending on how I'm feeling, I'll use it. But usually lately, I haven't been doing that. So, so yeah, that's the pretty much full setup. So I'll get into the interior and show you kind of some mods and stuff that I've done on the inside. So let's head up into the tent. So this is what it looks like from the doorway. I have that window open, obviously that one closed. You come in here, and this is, like I said, a bag for, I'll just dump it out real quick. They include with this kit a instruction manual on how to do any repairs, a repair kit that, oh, looks like it's busted open. So I haven't used it yet, but looks like I'll have to get that replaced. But they give you like a little extra tent material. You can see it in there if you need to patch anything. And then these are strut locks. So these struts back here to prevent the shell from like blowing on you. I've never used them, but if it was like crazy windy, you might want to put those in so the struts are locked into place. But that is what's included in that little pouch. And then I'll get in here. I am 5'7", 5'8"-ish. So you can see my head is at the top of the tent right now, and I have that much room past my feet. So I feel like if you're probably like 6'5" max, this would be plenty of room. But yeah, that's that. And then you look up, there's a skylight here. So this has a plastic sheeting on the fly, so you can get some light in while also having the fly on. And then there is bug netting that you can undo as well. And then this is that plastic sheeting for the fly. So that's that. Then we can open this right window. So this goes down to the tailgate. So kind of show you, so one mod that I do want to show you here is, so they include with this a LED light strip, and it's on this Velcro like thing. I don't know what you, like this is like a mesh net thing, and I don't know what their new generation looks like, but this is kind of cheesy to me. And I had to put this little clip here in order to prevent this strip from sliding out of that. So that was one like little mod that I did. And then I just decided, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to buy this. So this is a LED light strip that's adhesive backed that I wrapped around the structural support or pole or whatever you want to call that. And so I'll link this in the description, but it's cool because it has a, it's actually similar to the one that Roofnest gives you. So this has a power button, minus for dimming, positive for increasing brightness. And then this actual rotational piece here, I guess originally they had a light strip included here, and then there was one underneath this, like where those shoe bags and stuff are, there was a light strip under there, so you could rotate between the interior light and that exterior light, or have them both on. But they only gave me this one light, so I'm not sure what the new generations look like or what they include, but this just wasn't doing it for me. There's a little pouch here to store this cord. But what I did was I took this adhesive backed LED strip, zip tied it to here so it wouldn't peel up or anything. And then I have the same type of situation where power, bright, dim, and this light is way better. This one is like 6,000 K temperature, so it's extremely blue. This one, I don't know what the temperature is. I'll have to look back at it, but it's much warmer and it's much more inviting. So it doesn't feel like you're in an insane asylum. It's like way more warm, and it feels like, ooh, cozy in here. So, and it gets super bright actually. I wish it would go a little bit dimmer, to be honest, but you know, it works pretty well. And I'll see, you're not going to be able to tell too much inside of here, but you just hook it up to a battery pack and then you hit the power and it's on. So you can see that warmth, I hope. But yeah, that's one little adjustment I made, and I think this would apply to any tent. So whatever tent that you do have, they all are pretty similar on the inside. So you could do something the same in your tent if you already have one. So another little couple features here, there's a little side pouch on both sides, so you can store whatever goodies you want in there. And then I'll show you the thickness of the mattress here, which I think is pretty crucial. Their mattress is pretty comfortable. I've touched and laid on Ikamper rooftop tent mattresses, and they're not that comfortable. They're pretty squishy, like thin, and they're not very dense. So this one's much more dense, and you can see the thickness there. I don't have anything for scale, but it's, you know, pretty thick. There will be the dimensions of this thing in the link, but this thing is also zippered quilts, so you could take this off to wash it if you want. I've had this for 3 years, and I'll be honest, I have yet to wash it, but it's, you know, still super clean. Like, you can tell there's not very many stains or anything on it. There's like leaves, but I probably should eventually clean it, but it's held up really, really well. And then you can This is Velcro to the base, so you can see under here, Velcro spot there, and that's just what's underneath. I will say, even with this mattress being much more comfortable, I still put on a eggshell type memory foam mattress over this. So only downside is that I like to have everything like in one, you know, consolidated thing and make setup super quick. You can't fit any sort of mattress topper in here with the tent actually closed. So I've tried it, and it's just way too, like, you have to really crank down on it, and it's like you're just going to cause damage. So unless you had like a really thin, which it's like, what's the point at that point? But I have to bring an additional mattress topper that I just store in the back of the truck, and I actually use it as a dog bed because, like I said, we have a dog. And what I'll do is I'll fold these seats down and make like a platform for him and use that mattress cover so it doesn't really take up any additional space because he's already back here anyway, and it makes him comfortable on the trip. And I'll repurpose his bed and then use it in the actual tent. So that's kind of the situation there. And I'll show you these other two mods here. So the last two mods on the interior of the tent, and pretty much the last mods that I've come up with so far, is going to be this little fan. So I usually have two of these. I just have one with me right now, but it has this clip on it. And what I'll do, and in Arizona, it gets pretty hot. And even if it's not that hot outside, like right now it's in the 60s, but it's still pretty stuffy in here. I will clip this fan to there. And let me just zip this up so it's out of the way. But I will clip a fan there and a fan there when I have the second one. And this significantly, I mean, it makes it so nice in here. Like, you have the windows open, even with the windows closed. And this fan has like 4 different speeds. I don't know if you can hear it, but it gets pretty powerful, and it just gets a nice airflow in here. Super clutch, especially when you have two. And then when you have this hanging, you can angle it different ways. You can turn it down, turn it that way. So I mean, really, with just this one, it's nice. But one of my more favorite mods, like, I really like this light, but this fan is super nice because I I sleep with a fan always, even at home. So that is one of the mods. And then another thing that I've kind of done is I just keep this little magnet in this pouch here. And what I do with this magnet is on the back of my phone and like back of iPads or whatever, I have little metal plates. And what I'll do is, this is the skylight. I'll unzip this skylight and reach behind, and you can see that magnet there, and stick my phone or iPad or whatever up there, and you can lay back and watch a movie. I know I typically try not to watch a ton of movies or anything camping and be on my phone all the time, but it's nice when you want to watch a movie that you have the ability to do that. So you can't really see me, but you just lay back right there, and then there's that magnet that's up there. So that's one little hack that I wanted to share with you. And then the last little mod, and I came ill prepared for the video, but we have a dog, and getting him up, he's like 100 pounds. So getting him in and out of the tent is pretty difficult. So just so if you're a dog person and you have a dog, what you want to do, and it makes it super easy, is you just extend the tent all the way out so you can see kind of how it's angled right here. And I have this rubber, like I said, I'm not prepared, unfortunately, but I have this rubber mat that I've cut to size for the tent. And maybe I'll show it in another video so you can get a better idea. But you just lay it over this. And I know it seems kind of steep, but he's able to run up that into the tent. So that's another little hack slash tip if you're a dog person and you want to get a rooftop tent. And I know people have asked me that before. How do you get the dog up there? That's one way to do it. I've done it where I've just muscled them up there, and it's funny. I might just put in some B-roll of me doing that, but yeah, that's one way to get them up there without having to break your back. The last couple things that I'll show you here is the view of the tent without the fly on. So it's difficult to do, you know, film it. So I didn't film taking it off, but it's really, really easy. This is what it looks like without the fly. So you have to take out these front awning poles, and that's the view without the fly. So I'll go up there and show you where that fly is stored. So you just climb up here, and I really like it without the fly, just as far as airflow is concerned. But you know, if it's cold or you want the shade, it's nice to have it. But basically, this thing just rolls up the fly. Here's that, you can see the plastic material for the skylight, but there's these little things, and you just secure it on there and roll it up, and there's kind of like a little space in here that this tucks right up into. So it's out of the way, and you're able to actually stand up. So you can see me standing up here, and you're able to get a nice view of our neighborhood. And it's kind of cool. You're just like in a, you know, crow's nest looking out. So it's pretty cool to do that. And the last thing that I want to show here in regards to something I like about the Roofnest compared to my only other experiences with an Ikamper is the front door. So front door here, you just unlatch these, and this rolls down. So the front door for the Roofnest, there's like a rod inside of the base of this. So let me take a step back so you can see the door. That's the door closed. So the door has this little rod that makes this rigid, and it makes this really easy to roll up. So you can see one-handed, I'm rolling this up. The Ikamper does not have a rigid pole in the door, and so the whole thing is just floppy, and you literally, it's hard to even do it with two hands. I can do this one with one hand, but it seems like a small thing, but this makes it so easy to roll up. And then when it's all the way up and you let it go, it's just like and rolls down. So I really like that. And another mod that I think is pretty sweet because of that feature is that you're able to just open and close the door kind of like a hatch. And if you take a magnet, instead of having to roll this door up and down every time you want to get in and out, like if you want the quick ability to open and close the door, if you put a magnet on the underside of that fly that's normally here, this will clip up there and it stays open, and then you just pull it and then it closes. So it's more like actual door than having to zip, unzip, roll, unroll. So it's a cool little feature that I like about these Roofnests. All right, so the last thing I'll show you is how to put the tent away. So I've already taken the awning poles out because that's boring to watch, and then I'll just show you how this folds up. So what I'll normally do is these little flaps here, put these out of the way. Same with this side, that out of the way. And then this is one thing that I always forget, but you'll want to lower, well, first clean, you know, any dirt off the ladder. Then you'll want to drop the ladder cover out. That's first, because if you don't do that, then you can't put it on the ladder. Then you just lift up from the base. This folds up and over. And then one thing that makes this really easy is I will reach from the inside of the ladder, and then there's two little tabs here. You push these in, and then that allows the entire ladder to collapse. Now you got to pay attention to not folding up that ladder cover in there, but I'll hop up here, make sure the ladder cover is not being tucked in, and then put that down. And then I'll kind of bring everything in, make sure the tent material is as much in as possible. And then this elastic strap, I'll bring over here, and I'll make sure the pull strap is over that piece of elastic. Then I'll come around here and clip this onto its little hook there. Now that that's in, all you do is pull the ladder down, or pull the cover down, and then throw this strap up into here, and then just make sure all the tent material is tucked in. So super easy. Put this in and make sure on this back side it's also tucked in. And it's that easy. Just pull the shell down, take the Velcro straps, give it a tug, and then these ratcheting portions for extra security, those cinch in, and you're good to go. All right, so that wraps it up for the review of the tent. If I have to give it a rating, I would give it an A. Not an A minus, not an A plus, an A for two reasons. One being the fact that you have to Raptor Liner the exterior, which easily solved problem. And the other problem is the Velcro straps instead of a buckle. As far as how the tent has held up over the 3 years that I've had it, looks pretty much the same as the day I got it. It's held up really, really well. Nothing is ripped. There's no like rust or anything. It hasn't even shifted on the bed cover. It's held up really well. So I highly recommend Roofnest as a company. They have good customer service. I've had to email them in the past in regards to, and that's another thing that I'll review, is they have a annex, which I have, and that attaches to the fly for it. So there's a zippered part on the fly, and I do have the annex. So I'm going to set that up at a future date and show you that. That's pretty cool. It does take a little more time. And the thing that I like about the clamshell type tents is that they're quickly deployed. When you bring in the annex, that requires kind of like a ground tent portion to it. So it slows down the setup time. So I don't use it super often, but I think it's pretty sweet in cold weather. So I'll show that to you in a later video. But like I was saying, great customer service. They responded really quickly. So overall, I think going with Roofnest, you can't go wrong. The two issues that I just talked about are addressed in their new version. So I think if you want to get into the market of getting a rooftop tent, going with their new gen would be a solid option. Like I said earlier, I'm going to link, well, I'll link everything that you saw in the video. And I highly recommend checking out the link to the side-by-side comparison of the Ikamper and the Roofnest. That side-by-side comparison, I think, is just, it gives you some good ideas for just how to select a tent in general. So just the categories that are broken down in that comparison will give you a good way to look at any tent that you're considering comparing moving forward. So if you're in the market for a rooftop tent, that's a really solid resource, and everything else will be linked as well. So just some things to think about. I hope you enjoyed the video. If there's any mods or any other hacks that you've done to your tent, I would love to hear about it in the comments. I'm always looking for a new mod to make, so happy to hear that in the comments. But otherwise, we'll see you in the next one, and stay safe out there.